Ji-hoon Kim stared at the energy weapon in his hands and sighed. The plasma rifle was beautiful. It hummed with power and could cut through metal like butter. Every cadet at the Galactic Military Academy loved these weapons. Every cadet except Ji-hoon. He set the rifle down on the training table and looked around the massive weapons hall. The Academy Station Kepler 7 was huge. It had been built by 12 different alien species working together. The walls were made of materials that could stop asteroid impacts. The weapons here could destroy entire cities. "Still playing with that antique?" asked Cadet Yuna Park as she walked over. She was carrying her own plasma rifle, but she looked just as bored as Ji-hoon felt. Ji-hoon nodded toward the weapon. "It works, but it is too slow. The energy takes time to charge. The beam travels fast, but not fast enough." "Fast enough for what?" Yuna sat down next to him. Around them, other cadets practiced with their energy weapons. The Valkyrie cadets moved like flowing water. Their energy-based bodies made them natural shooters. The Thoraxians worked as a group, sharing thoughts through their hive mind. The Centaurians kept disappearing and reappearing, using their teleportation technology. "Fast enough for real combat," Ji-hoon said. "What if the enemy moves faster than the beam can travel?" Yuna laughed. "Nothing moves faster than energy beams. That is basic physics, is it?" Ji-hoon pulled out his datapad and showed her some numbers. "Look at this. A metal rod fired by magnetic fields could move much faster than we think." Before Yuna could answer, 2 more human cadets joined them. Minho Lee dropped into a chair, looking tired from flight training. Hana Choi sat down more carefully, still wearing her communications gear. "What are you two talking about?" Minho asked. "Ji-hoon thinks he can make a better weapon than a plasma rifle," Yuna said. Hana looked interested. "Really? What kind of weapon?" Ji-hoon hesitated. He knew his idea would sound crazy. "A magnetic gun. It would throw metal objects very fast using magnetic field." Minho stared at him. "You mean like a kinetic weapon?" "Those are ancient. No one uses those anymore. Why not?" Ji-hoon asked. "Because energy shields stop them," Hana said. "Every ship has energy shields now. They can stop any physical object, can they?" Ji-hoon showed them more numbers on his datapad. "Look at the math. If a metal rod moves fast enough, it carries enormous energy, more energy than any shield could stop." The 3 friends looked at the calculations. None of them were physicists, but they could see what Ji-hoon meant. "The numbers were huge. How fast are we talking?" Yuna asked. "Maybe 10% of light speed," Ji-hoon said quietly. Minho almost choked on his drink. 10%? That is impossible. Not impossible, just difficult. Ji-hoon pulled up more data. "Humans have been working on magnetic acceleration for hundreds of years. We call them railguns." "Railguns," Hana repeated. "I have heard that word before. Old Earth military technology." "Not so old," Ji-hoon said, "and much more advanced than anyone here realizes." At that moment, their instructor appeared. Veltara was a Valkyrie, tall and thin with skin that glowed softly blue. Like all Valkyries, she was made partly of energy. She could fire plasma beams from her hands without any weapon at all. "Cadets," she said, her voice musical like wind chimes. "I have your final project assignments." The 4 humans stood up straight. The final project would determine if they graduated from the academy. It was the most important test of their military careers. "Each team will design a new weapon system," Veltara continued, "something that could change how we fight wars. You have 6 weeks to complete your design and build a working prototype." Other cadet teams were already forming. The Valkyrie cadets gathered together, planning some new kind of energy weapon. The Thoraxians moved as one group, their shared mind already working on ideas. The Centaurians whispered about improved teleportation systems. "What should we do?" Hana asked quietly. Ji-hoon looked at his friends. They were all smart in different ways. Yuna understood tactics and strategy. Minho was the best pilot in their class. Hana could coordinate complex operations. And Ji-hoon knew physics and engineering. "We build a railgun," Ji-hoon said. "A what?" Veltara had been walking past and heard him. "A magnetic acceleration weapon, instructor," Ji-hoon explained. "It uses electromagnetic fields to launch projectiles at very high speeds." Veltara's glowing eyes brightened with amusement. "A kinetic weapon? How wonderfully primitive. Are you planning to throw rocks at your enemies next?" Some nearby cadets laughed. The Centaurian team leader, a tall being with purple skin, spoke up. "Perhaps the humans should focus on learning modern technology first." More laughter filled the weapons hall. Jihoon felt his face turn red, but Yuna stepped forward. "We accept the challenge, instructor," she said firmly. "We will build a working railgun prototype." Veltara nodded, still smiling. "Very well. But remember, your weapon must be effective against modern defenses. Energy shields, armor plating, defensive systems. If your railgun cannot penetrate standard military defenses, you will fail the project." "Understood," Yuna said. As Veltara moved away, the Zentaurian cadet approached them. His name was Kithmar, and he was the best student in advanced teleportation theory. "I hope you realize what you are doing," he said with a sneer. "Kinetic weapons are obsolete for a reason. They are slow, clumsy, and easily stopped. You humans are new to galactic civilization. Perhaps you should learn from your betters before trying to reinvent warfare." Minho stood up, angry, but Jihoon put a hand on his shoulder. "We will see," Jihoon said calmly. "Sometimes old ideas work better than new ones." Kithmar laughed and walked away. "Good luck with your Stone Age technology." When they were alone again, Hana looked worried. "Are we really going to do this? Everyone thinks we are crazy." "Maybe we are," Yuna said. "But Jihoon's math looks solid. And we humans have always been good at surprising people." Minho nodded slowly. "Besides, what is the worst that could happen? We fail and everyone laughs at us? They are already laughing." Jihoon opened his datapad again and showed them detailed plans he had been working on for months. The railgun design was complex but elegant. It used principles that were simple but powerful. "We can do this," he said. "We just need to work together and ignore what everyone else thinks." Hana smiled. When have humans ever cared about what others think is impossible? The four friends looked around the weapons hall one more time. Every other team was working on variations of the same technologies the galaxy had used for thousands of years. Energy weapons, teleportation systems, shield improvements. Only the humans were thinking differently. "Railguns first," Jihoon said quietly. "Teleporters later," Yuna added with a grin. They had no idea how much those words would soon shake the entire galaxy. The academy workshop was quiet except for the soft humming of machines. Jihoon bent over his calculations while his three friends watched. Numbers filled the screen of his datapad. Equations that most galactic species had forgotten long ago. "Explain it to us again," Yuna said. "But use simple words this time." Jihoon looked up from his work. Dark circles under his eyes showed he had been working all night. "Okay, think of it this way. Energy weapons shoot beams of light or plasma. They move very fast, but they spread out. They lose power over distance." "Right," Minho said. "That is why ships have thick armor and energy shields." "Exactly. But what if we shoot something solid instead? Something small and heavy that does not spread out or lose power?" Hana frowned. "But energy shields stop solid objects. Everyone knows that, do they?" Jihoon pulled up a new screen. "Look at these old galactic battle records. I found them in the Academy database. 10,000 years ago, some species used kinetic weapons, but they were slow. Chemical explosions pushing metal bullets. He showed them videos from ancient battles. Ships fired projectiles that moved slowly through space. Enemy shields easily stopped them, see? That is why everyone gave up on kinetic weapons. But watch this." Jihoon showed them a simulation he had created. A metal rod only as big as his finger, accelerated by magnetic fields. The numbers next to it showed its speed growing faster and faster. 30,000 meters per second, he read. 60,000? 100,000. 200,000. The speed kept climbing until it reached 30 million meters per second, 10% of light speed. At that speed, Jihoon continued, this tiny rod carries more kinetic energy than a nuclear bomb. No shield in the galaxy is designed to stop that much concentrated force. Minho whistled softly. But how do you accelerate something that fast? The magnetic fields would have to be enormous. Not enormous, just very precise. Jihoon showed them his railgun design. We use a series of magnetic coils. Each one adds more speed. Like a relay race, but with magnets. Yuna studied the plans. She was good at seeing how things work together. This could actually work, but we need materials. Superconducting magnets, power sources, control systems. I know where to get them, Hana said. The Academy has old mining equipment in storage. The magnetic separators use the same technology we need. Mining equipment? Minho looked confused. Think about it, Hana explained. How do you think they separate metal ore from rock in space? Magnetic fields. Very powerful ones, Jihoon smiled. It was the first time he had looked happy in days. That could work. Mining separators use linear magnetic acceleration. We just need to modify them. Over the next week, the four friends worked in secret. They met in abandoned sections of the academy after classes ended. Hana used her communication skills to access the storage databases. Minho used his pilot training to move heavy equipment without being noticed. Yuna planned their work like a military operation, but it was not easy. The mining equipment was old and broken. The magnetic coils were cracked. The power systems barely worked. "This is hopeless," Minho said after their third day of repairs. "We need new parts, not ancient junk." "We work with what we have," Yuna said firmly. "That is what humans do." Jihoon was deep inside one of the magnetic coils trying to fix damaged wiring. "Actually, this old equipment might be better than new parts." "How?" Hana asked. "Modern magnetic systems are designed for precision work. Mining, manufacturing, delicate operations. But these old miners needed raw power. They had to rip metal out of solid rock." He crawled out of the coil, covered in dust and grease. "These magnets are crude, but they are incredibly strong, much stronger than anything designed for weapons." As they worked, word began to spread around the academy. Other cadets heard rumors about the humans and their strange project. Most thought it was a joke. The Velkari cadets found it amusing. "Magnetic weapons," one of them said during lunch. "How wonderfully backwards. What is next? Swords and arrows?" The Thoraxians analyzed it as a group and decided it was impossible. Their shared calculations showed that kinetic weapons could never match energy weapons for effectiveness. But the Zentaurians were different. Kithmar, their team leader, seemed worried instead of amused. He started asking questions. Where were the humans getting their materials? What exactly were they building? "Why do you care?" Minho asked when he caught Kithmar trying to spy on their workshop. "I do not care," Kithmar replied, but his purple skin had turned darker. Among Zentaurians, that meant stress or fear. "I am simply curious about your primitive efforts." That night, the humans found their workshop had been broken into. Nothing was stolen, but their equipment had been examined. Someone had taken detailed scans of their railgun prototype. "Kithmar," Yuna said angrily. "He is afraid we might actually succeed." "Good," Jihoon said. "If he is worried, maybe we are onto something." They moved their work to a new location and added security measures. Hana programmed the door locks with codes only they knew. Minho set up motion sensors. Yuna created false information to confuse any spies. Meanwhile, Jihoon made a breakthrough. He discovered that the Academy's old mining equipment used a special alloy in its magnetic coils. The alloy was incredibly efficient at generating magnetic fields. It had been developed by an extinct species thousands of years ago. "No one uses this alloy anymore," he explained to his friends. "Modern technology is more precise, but this old alloy is more powerful. It is perfect for our railgun." "How powerful?" Yuna asked. Jihoon showed them his latest calculations. The numbers were even bigger than before. "With these coils, we could accelerate a projectile to 15% of light speed. Maybe 20%. Hana looked worried. "Is that safe? I mean, what happens if something goes wrong?" "Nothing will go wrong," Jihoon said confidently. "The math is solid." Minho was not so sure. "What if the projectile misses its target? At that speed, it would keep going until it hit something. Maybe something important." "We will be careful," Yuna promised. "We will test it in a controlled environment." But their careful plans were about to be tested sooner than they expected. The next morning, Veltara announced that all project teams would present their work in 2 weeks. Not just their designs, but working demonstrations. "Each team will test their prototype weapon against standard military targets," she explained. "Energy shields, armor plating, defensive systems. The Academy will provide targets that match real military specifications." After class, the four humans met to discuss the announcement. "Are we ready?" Hana asked. Jihoon looked at their railgun prototype. It was crude and ugly compared to the elegant energy weapons other teams were building. Exposed wiring and salvaged parts held together with mechanical bolts. But the magnetic coils hummed with power, and the acceleration chamber was perfectly aligned. "The physics work," he said. "The question is whether we can build it well enough to prove that." "We have 2 weeks," Yuna said. "We can do this," Minho nodded. "Besides, we have come too far to quit now." That evening, as they worked late in their secret workshop, none of them noticed the small surveillance device hidden in the ventilation system. Kithmar was watching, and what he saw made his purple skin turn almost black with fear. The humans were not just building a weapon. They were building something that could change everything. and they had no idea how right he was. The Academy testing range was packed. Cadets from all 12 species crowded around the observation platforms. Instructors floated in the air using their various technologies. Even high-ranking military officers had come to watch the final project demonstrations. Jihoon wiped sweat from his hands as he looked at their railgun. It sat on a simple metal platform looking crude next to the other weapons. The Velkari team had built an elegant plasma cannon that glowed with inner light. The Thoraxians had created a swarm weapon that could attack multiple targets at once. The Zentorians had designed a teleportation bomb that could appear anywhere instantly. "Are you nervous?" Yuna asked quietly. "Terrified," Jihoon admitted. "What if we are wrong? What if it does not work? Then we fail spectacularly in front of everyone," Minho said with a grin. "At least it will be memorable." Hana checked their equipment one last time. "All systems are ready. Power levels are good. Magnetic coils are aligned perfectly." Veltara approached their platform, followed by several other instructors and a group of holographic observers. The hologram showed important people from across the galaxy watching remotely. "Cadet Kim," Veltara said formally, "please explain your weapon system to the observers." Jihoon stepped forward, his voice shaking slightly. "This is a magnetic acceleration weapon, also called a railgun. It uses electromagnetic fields to accelerate a metal projectile to very high speeds." One of the holographic observers, a tall Zentaurian with golden skin, spoke up. "What kind of speeds are we talking about, young human?" "Approximately 20% of light speed, Admiral," Jihoon replied. The observer laughed. 20%? That is impossible for a kinetic weapon. Energy weapons can barely achieve those velocities. "With respect, Admiral, kinetic weapons follow different physics than energy weapons," Jihoon said, gaining confidence. "A solid projectile maintains its energy and velocity much better than an energy beam." Another observer, a glowing Velkari, joined the conversation. "Even if you could achieve such speeds, no kinetic weapon could penetrate modern defenses. Energy shields are specifically designed to stop physical objects. That is what we would like to test," Yuna said politely. Veltara gestured toward the target range. 3 targets sat at different distances. The first was a standard energy shield generator, the kind used on military ships. The second was a plate of durasteel armor, thick enough to stop any known weapon. The third was a section of the Academy's own outer hull, made from the strongest materials in the galaxy. "Your target is the shield generator," Veltara announced. "If you can penetrate it, we will consider your weapon successful." The holographic observers settled back to watch, clearly expecting entertainment rather than success. Conversations buzzed around the observation platforms as spectators made bets on how badly the human weapon would fail. Jihoon loaded a single tungsten rod into the railgun chamber. The rod was only 10 centimeters long and 2 centimeters wide. It looked like a simple piece of metal, nothing special or dangerous. "That tiny thing is your projectile?" the Zentorian admiral asked. "How much damage could something so small possibly do?" "We will find out," Jihoon said. He moved to the control station while his friends took positions around the railgun. Yuna monitored the targeting system. Minho checked the power connections. Hana coordinated their communications with the control room. "Target acquired," Yuna reported. "Range is 100 meters. Power levels at maximum," Minho announced. "All systems green." "Control room confirms range is clear," Hana said. "We are authorized to fire." Jihoon placed his hand on the firing control. The railgun hummed with increasing power as the magnetic coils charged. A low vibration ran through the platform. "Firing in 3, he announced. 2, 1. He pressed the button. For a split second, nothing seemed to happen. Then the railgun fired with a sound like thunder. Lightning arced between the magnetic coils. The entire platform shook from the electromagnetic pulse. The tungsten rod left the barrel so fast it was invisible. One moment it was in the chamber, the next it was gone. At the target range, the energy shield generator sparked and flickered. For a heartbeat, it seemed like the shield was holding. Then the entire device exploded in a shower of sparks and metal fragments. The crowd went silent, but the tungsten rod had not stopped. It punched through the durasteel armor plate like it was made of paper, leaving a perfectly round hole. Still moving, it hit the section of Academy hull and disappeared through it completely. Alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. Automated voices announced hull breaches and pressure drops. Emergency protocols activated, the station computer announced. All personnel moved to safe areas immediately. Beltara stared at the destroyed targets in shock. The energy shield generator was completely gone. The armor plate had a hole large enough to put your fist through. And somewhere in the Academy's outer hull was another hole that maintenance crews were frantically trying to seal. What happened to the projectile? The Zentorian admiral asked, his voice tight with concern. Hana was checking the tracking systems. It exited the station and continued into space. Current trajectory shows it traveling toward the asteroid belt. How fast is it moving now? Beltara asked. Approximately 19% of light speed, Minho reported. It has lost very little velocity. The implications hit everyone at the same time. The tungsten rod was still flying through space at incredible speed. It would travel for hours, maybe days, before hitting something. Attention all stations, the Academy computer announced. Tracking projectile at coordinates 47.3 by 12.7. All ships avoid collision course. 6 hours later, reports came in from the asteroid belt. The tungsten rod had struck a large asteroid and completely destroyed it. The explosion was visible from 3 different space stations. In the testing range, nobody spoke for a long time. The holographic observers had gone pale, even the ones made of energy. The cadet team stared at the human railgun like it was a dangerous animal. Finally, the Zentorian admiral broke the silence. How long have humans possessed this technology? We developed railguns about 400 years ago, Jihoon said quietly. But we never built them this powerful before. 400 years? The Velkari observer's glow brightened with alarm. You have had kinetic weapons for 4 centuries and never mentioned them. Nobody asked, Yuna said simply. Everyone told us kinetic weapons were obsolete. Kithmar, the Zentorian cadet, stepped forward. His purple skin was almost black with fear. Do you realize what you have done? You have made energy shields useless. 10,000 years of defensive technology, worthless in a single shot. We just answered the assignment, Hana said. We built a weapon that could change warfare. Change it? The Zentorian admiral was speaking rapidly into a communication device. You have destroyed it. Every ship, every station, every world that depends on energy shields for protection is now defenseless. Beltara was examining the railgun closely, her glowing eyes wide with wonder and fear. The power requirements alone should have been impossible. How did you generate enough energy? We used old mining equipment, Minho explained. The magnetic coils were designed to extract metals from asteroids. Much more powerful than modern weapons-grade systems. Mining equipment, the Velkari observer repeated. You built a weapon that can penetrate any defense using mining equipment? And basic physics, Jihoon added. Nothing we did was particularly advanced. Any species could build a railgun if they wanted to. But no species thought to try, Beltara said slowly. We all assumed kinetic weapons were primitive and useless. Around the testing range, cadets and instructors were having urgent conversations. Communication devices buzzed with emergency calls. The holographic observers were disappearing one by one as their governments called emergency meetings. The human team stood next to their crude railgun, suddenly understanding that they had done something much bigger than pass a class project. Are we in trouble? Hana asked quietly. I do not think trouble is the right word, Yuna replied, watching as more military holograms appeared in the observation area. I think we just changed the galaxy. Jihoon looked at the smoking remains of the targets, then at the emergency crews sealing the hull breach their single shot had caused. Railguns first, he whispered. Teleporters later, his friends replied. But none of them were smiling anymore. They were beginning to understand that sometimes changing the galaxy was not as fun as it sounded. The communication requests started 3 hours after the test. By the next morning, Jihoon had received offers from 7 different galactic governments, 4 military organizations, and 12 private companies. All of them wanted the same thing, him. The Velkari Energy Consortium is offering you full citizenship and unlimited research funding, Hana read from her datapad. The Thoraxian Collective wants to add your knowledge to their hive mind, and the Zentorian Empire is offering you a position as chief weapons designer with your own planet. Your own planet, Minho repeated, just for building a railgun. Jihoon sat on his dorm bed looking overwhelmed. More messages appeared on his communication device every few minutes. I do not want a planet. I just wanted to pass our project. Yuna was reading news reports on her tablet. Listen to this. Galactic defense industry stock crashed 40% overnight as investors realize energy shield technology may be obsolete. And this one, emergency session called in Galactic Senate to discuss human weapons capabilities. They are calling it the Academy incident, Hana added. Some news sources are saying it is the biggest military breakthrough in 10,000 years. A soft chime indicated someone at their door. When Hana opened it, Veltara stood outside with 3 other instructors. All of them looked tired and worried. Cadets, Veltara said. We need to talk. They gathered in the common room where Veltara activated a privacy field around them. The air shimmered slightly, blocking any surveillance devices. In the last 18 hours, she began, 12 separate intelligence agencies have tried to access your academic records. 4 governments have demanded copies of your railgun plans. And 3 species have formally requested that humans be banned from the Academy. Banned? Minho looked confused. Why? Because you have demonstrated that humans think about warfare completely differently than the rest of the galaxy, one of the other instructors explained. She was a thoraxian, her insect-like features showing distress. Our shared calculations indicate that human military doctrine could revolutionize all galactic defense systems. Veltara nodded. The Zentorian Empire has gone to emergency alert status. They are recalling all their fleets and redesigning their battle tactics, all because of one tungsten rod fired by 4 cadets. We just built what the assignment asked for, Yuna protested. A weapon that could change warfare. Yes, and now, everyone realizes that humans have been studying warfare from a completely different perspective. The 3rd instructor said. He was elderly, from a species Ji-hoon did not recognize. Tell me, how long have humans been developing kinetic weapons? About 400 years seriously, Ji-hoon answered. But humans have been throwing things at enemies for thousands of years. Rocks, spears, arrows, bullets? Throwing things, Veltara repeated softly. While other species developed energy manipulation and teleportation, humans perfected the art of throwing things. We got very good at it, Hana said with a small smile. The elderly instructor leaned forward. What other primitive technologies have humans mastered? The 4 friends looked at each other. They had never thought about human technology as being primitive or advanced. It was just normal to them. Explosive chemistry, Minho said finally. Humans know a lot about making things explode. Kinetic engineering, Ji-hoon added. We understand how things move and collide. Electromagnetic theory, Yuna continued. Humans use magnetic fields for many things. Communication networks, Hana finished. We are good at connecting things together. The instructors exchanged worried glances. Explosive chemistry, the Thoraxian repeated. The galaxy has focused on controlled energy release for millennia. Humans study uncontrolled explosions? Not uncontrolled, Ji-hoon corrected. Very controlled. We can make explosions that are exactly the right size and power for what we need. Veltara's glow flickered with concern. What about electromagnetic theory? How advanced is human understanding? Pretty advanced, Yuna said. We use electromagnetic fields for power generation, transportation, manufacturing, communication, computation, medical treatment. Medical treatment? The elderly instructor looked alarmed. You use electromagnetic fields on living beings. Magnetic resonance imaging, Hana explained. We can see inside bodies without cutting them open, and electromagnetic therapy for healing damaged tissue. The room went quiet. Finally, Veltara spoke again. 400 years ago, when humans first made contact with galactic civilization, your species was classified as technologically developing. The assessment indicated that humans would need several thousand years to catch up with galactic standards. Maybe the assessment was wrong, Minho suggested. Or maybe, the elderly instructor said slowly, humans developed along completely different technological paths. While we pursued energy manipulation and spatial manipulation, humans pursued kinetic manipulation and electromagnetic manipulation. The question now, Veltara continued, is what else humans have developed that the galaxy considers primitive, but is actually revolutionary? Before anyone could answer, Hana's communication device chimed urgently. She checked the message and her face went pale. "What is it?" Yuna asked. "Emergency message from Earth," Hana said quietly. "The Galactic Council has formally requested that Earth send representatives to discuss human military capabilities. They want a full technology exchange." "Technology exchange?" Jihoon looked confused. "They want to know everything," Veltara explained. "Every weapon, every defense system, every military technology humans have ever developed." Minho laughed nervously. "That could take a while." "How long?" the Thoraxian instructor asked. The four friends thought about it. Humans had been developing military technology for their entire history. Thousands of years of weapons development, tactical evolution, strategic thinking. "Maybe a few years to cover the basics," Yuna said finally. "The basics?" Veltara's glow brightened with alarm. "Well, we would start with simple things," Jihoon explained. "Chemical explosives, kinetic weapons, electromagnetic systems, nuclear technology, biological defenses, cybernetic warfare, nanotechnology applications." "Nuclear technology?" the elderly instructor interrupted. "Humans have weapons that use nuclear reactions?" "Had," Hana corrected. "We do not use nuclear weapons anymore. Too dangerous." "Too dangerous for what?" "They could destroy entire planets," Minho said casually. "We decided that was probably a bad idea." The instructor stared at them in horror. "You had weapons that could destroy planets," Veltara said slowly. "And you gave them up because they were too dangerous?" "We kept some for asteroid mining and space construction," Jihoon added helpfully. "But not for warfare." "Asteroid mining," the Thoraxian repeated. "Humans use planet-destroying weapons for mining?" "Just small ones," Yuna said. "Planet destroyers would be wasteful for mining." The elderly instructor stood up abruptly. "I need to make some calls," he said, and hurried out of the room. Veltara watched him go, then turned back to the humans. "I think you should prepare for visitors," she said. "Many visitors, from many species. All of them very interested in human primitive technology." After the instructors left, the four friends sat in their room, trying to understand what was happening. "Are we famous now?" Hana asked. "I think we are something more than famous," Yuna replied. "I think we accidentally became the most important humans in the galaxy." Jihoon was working on his datapad again, running new calculations. "If we are sharing human technology with other species, we should probably start with the simple stuff." "Like what?" Minho asked. "Well," Jihoon said thoughtfully, "humans also developed pretty good teleportation technology." His three friends stared at him. "We have teleportation?" Yuna asked slowly. "Sure. We just never saw much military use for it." Railguns seemed more practical. Outside their window, the stars of the galaxy glittered peacefully, unaware that four human cadets had just ensured that peace would never be quite the same again. 6 months had passed since the Academy incident, but Jihoon still felt strange walking into the Galactic Council chambers. The massive circular room had been designed for 12 species, but now 13 chairs sat around the central table. The newest chair was made from materials found only on Earth. "The Human Galactic Technology Exchange will now present its quarterly report," announced Speaker Velnoth, a dignified Zentaurian whose purple skin showed only the slightest stress coloring these days. Jihoon stood up, wearing the dark blue uniform of Earth's first galactic representative. It still felt weird to think of himself as anything more than a student, but the galaxy had decided otherwise. "The electromagnetic acceleration program has been successfully implemented by 7 species," he began, reading from his notes. "The Velkari Consortium has increased their mining efficiency by 400% using human railgun technology. The Thoraxian Collective has integrated kinetic weapons into their defense systems, and the Zentaurian Empire has begun replacing energy shields with electromagnetic deflector arrays." Around the table, Representatives from different species nodded approvingly. The Velkari delegate glowed softly with satisfaction. The Thoraxian representative twitched her antennae in the pattern that meant agreement. However, Jihoon continued, we strongly recommend that all species complete the basic physics courses before attempting to build planet crackers. A nervous flutter ran around the room. 3 weeks ago, the Rigelian Republic had accidentally destroyed one of their own moons while trying to build what they called a super railgun. Humans had tried to warn them that bigger was not always better, but some species had to learn through experience. The cultural exchange program has also seen significant progress, Jihoon added. Captain Yuna Park reports that 17 species have successfully adapted human tactical thinking to their military doctrines. In the military section of the chambers, Yuna stood briefly and nodded. She wore the silver uniform of the Galactic Strategic Command, with rank insignia that made her one of the youngest advisors in galactic history. Her job was to teach alien species how humans thought about warfare, which turned out to be much more different than anyone had expected. Engineer Minho Lee has completed the prototype for the new Joint Fleet program, Jihoon continued. Ships designed using human engineering principles are now 40% faster and 60% more efficient than previous galactic standards. Minho was not present in the chambers. He was somewhere in space, testing the first human-designed starship that other species had helped build. The ship was ugly by alien standards, but incredibly effective. It could outrun anything in the galaxy and carried weapons that could punch holes through planets. Finally, Ambassador Hana Choi has successfully negotiated technology-sharing agreements with 23 species, ensuring that human knowledge benefits the entire galactic community while protecting Earth's interests. Hana sat at the diplomatic table, wearing the green robes of a galactic ambassador. At 21 years old, she was the youngest ambassador in galactic history, but she had proven surprisingly good at the job. Humans, it turned out, were natural diplomats when they wanted to be. Now, Speaker Velnoth said as Jihoon sat down, we come to the matter of Earth's latest technology demonstration. The lights dimmed and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a simple metal device about the size of a briefcase. 3 days ago, Velnoth continued, human scientists successfully demonstrated instantaneous matter transport across a distance of 50,000 kilometers. They call it a quantum teleporter. Murmurs of amazement ran around the chamber. Teleportation was considered the most advanced technology in the galaxy, mastered only by the Zentorians after thousands of years of development. The human device, Velnoth said, appears to be more efficient than Zentorian technology and uses completely different operating principles. The Zentorian delegate's skin had turned a deep purple. How long have humans possessed teleportation technology? Hana stood to answer. About 60 years for basic research, 15 years for practical applications. We primarily use it for transportation and communication. 60 years? The Zentorian's skin was now almost black. You have had teleportation for 60 years and considered it unimportant? We had railguns, Hana said simply. Teleportation seemed less useful for most applications. Less useful, the Zentorian repeated faintly. Jihoon cleared his throat. If I may explain the physics, teleportation is excellent for moving small objects quickly, but it requires enormous energy for anything large. Railguns can move large objects using much less energy. So humans developed both technologies, the Velkari delegate said, her glow pulsing with interest, but focused on kinetic weapons because they were more practical. Exactly, Jihoon replied. We always prefer practical solutions. What other impractical technologies have humans developed? Asked the elderly delegate from the Cosmic Assembly. The four friends exchanged glances. This question came up at every meeting, and each time the answer surprised everyone. Well, Jihoon said carefully, humans have also developed artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, nanotechnology, antimatter containment, quantum computing, biological warfare systems, cybernetic enhancement, temporal mechanics research, dimensional fold drives, and something we call planet engines. The chamber went completely silent. Planet engines? Speaker Velnoth asked weakly. Systems for moving entire planets. Minho's voice came over the communication system from his ship. We built one to relocate Earth's moon when it started drifting out of orbit. Worked pretty well. You moved your moon, the Thoraxian delegate said slowly. Just a little, Hana said reassuringly. Only about 50,000 kilometers. It was causing problems with our ocean tides. Ocean tides, the Zentorian delegate repeated. You moved a celestial body because it was affecting your water. Our oceans are very important to us, Yuna added from the military section. Most human life depends on ocean ecosystems. Of course, Velnoth said faintly. Ocean ecosystems. The elderly delegate from the Cosmic Assembly raised a trembling hand. How much of this technology has Earth shared with the galactic community? About 2%, Jihun said after checking his notes. We are proceeding slowly to ensure proper safety protocols. 2%, several delegates said in unison. We want to make sure everyone understands the principles before we share. The more dangerous applications, Hana explained. Some human technology could be very destructive if used incorrectly. More destructive than planet-destroying railguns? The Velkari delegate asked. Much more, Yuna said seriously. We have weapons that could destroy star systems. But we do not use those anymore either. Anymore either? Velnoth's voice cracked slightly. We decided that destroying star systems was even more wasteful than destroying planets, Jihun explained. Bad for the galactic environment. Bad for the environment, the Zentorian delegate whispered. The chamber fell silent again. Outside the massive windows, the stars of the galactic core glittered peacefully. Ships from dozens of species moved through space, many now equipped with human technology that had revolutionized their capabilities. I think, Speaker Velnoth said finally, we should schedule additional sessions to discuss human technology sharing. Many additional sessions. We could do that, Hana agreed. Though it might take a while to cover everything. How long? Asked the Cosmic Assembly delegate. The four friends looked at each other and smiled. Maybe 50 years, Jihun said. If we skip the really complicated stuff. The really complicated stuff, Velnoth repeated numbly. As the session ended and delegates began filing out, many of them looked like they needed to lie down somewhere quiet. The galaxy had spent the last 6 months adjusting to the idea that humans were more advanced than anyone had realized. Now they were learning that the adjustment period might last for centuries. Beltara approached the four friends as they gathered their materials. She still glowed with the same soft blue light, but her expression had changed. There was respect there now and just a little bit of fear. I have a question, she said quietly. That first day at the academy when you proposed building a railgun. Did you know it would change everything? Jihun thought about it carefully. We knew it would work. We just wanted to pass the class. And now you are reshaping galactic civilization. We are just sharing what we know, Yuna said. Humans have always been good at teaching. Beltara nodded slowly. Yes, I am beginning to understand that. Humans learn by trying new things and then they teach others what they discover. That is how knowledge grows, Hana added. Everyone benefits when information is shared. Even dangerous information? Especially dangerous information, Minho's voice came over the comm. If you do not understand dangerous things, they stay dangerous. If you understand them, you can control them. As they walked out of the council chambers, Jihun looked back at the 13 chairs around the table. A year ago, there had been 12 chairs for 12 species that had worked together for thousands of years. Now there were 13 and everything was different. Do you think we did the right thing? He asked his friends. We did what humans always do, Yuna replied. We shared what we learned. Besides, Hana added with a grin, wait until